Hi, everybody. It's Jerry here with you again. We're doing some technology training using our Bluetooth keyboard. This is going to be probably 4-week, 5-week sessions on becoming proficient using our keyboard with VoiceOver on our iOS device, whether it's an iPad, an iPhone, etc. So let's get started. Some important commands to know. Okay. Let's do the keyboard layout. Okay. And I have a Magic keyboard that I'm using. If you have a Logitech keyboard, there's a couple of differences, right? Still a really good keyboard, but a couple of differences. Starting from my spacebar, going toward my left, I have a command key, an option key, and a control key. The next key to that is the function key, and you can actually use that key for something. Um, our modifier keys when using VoiceOver, and they're called our VoiceOver keys, is your command, your control, and your option key. And again, if we start going from our left at the spacebar as our point of beginning, we have our command key, our option key, our control key, and our function key. And all of those are modifier keys. To my right, we have our command key and our option key. Then to the left of that, you have your left arrow. Then to the right of that, you have your up and down arrow. And then to the right of that, you have your right arrow. And all of those are very important keys. One significant modifier key is our VO key. And the voiceover keys or VO keys are control and option. If you press that down and do a letter key, like for example, VOA or VOB, like boy, is our say all or read all command. So for example, to do a read all, we swipe down with 2 fingers when we're using gestures on an iPhone or an iPad. But if you want to do the same task using a keyboard, it's VOB or VOA. And the modifier keys are control and option. That's our VO keys, right? So pretty important keys. If we want to navigate, we can do VO and arrow, right or left, and that will function as our arrow keys. So these are some really important keys to note as far as using your Bluetooth keyboard. So let's continue. All right. What are voiceover keys? Control option. This is a modifier key, which means if you press and hold these 2 keys together, then press a letter key, it will perform an action. Control and option are the modifier keys for VoiceOver. So again, just a quick mental note on that. So for today's class, what we're going to be doing is we will be using our keyboard to explore our home environment using VoiceOver and a Bluetooth keyboard. All right, so keep that in mind. That's going to be the exercise for today. So I'm going to just kind of repeat a couple of things really quickly. Our VO keys, control option, function as our modifier key is going to be really important. The next key is VO, left arrow or right arrow, and that will move us across the screen, so we can do it that way. There's also a third way to use our arrow keys or to navigate. This is called quick navigation. This allows us to use our left and right arrow to navigate our screen without using modifier keys. When you enter quick navigation mode, it does a few different types of things, which we'll explore later on. But for the time being, just know that if you press your left arrow and your right arrow together, that will activate quick nav. And you'll hear a sound like this. That lets you know it's on. And if you press left and right arrow together, that lets you know it's off. Another quick nav combination is your up and down arrows. By pressing up and down, that functions as a selector key or an enter key. That will, so if you navigate to your notes app and you press up and down together, that will function as a double tap. So keep that in mind. However, you can perform the same function. So you don't need to do it with the quick navigation keys. It comes in handy. You can press your space bar, sometimes by itself, like if you were using JAWS, or you can press VO spacebar, and that will function as your selector key or your double tap if you're used to using the gestures. So before we get started with exploring our home environment, one thing that could be really handy when navigating your Bluetooth keyboard is doing something which is help. And this is done by pressing VOK. So I'm going to do that. Press VOK.
Starting help. To stop help, perform a 4-finger double tap or 2-finger scrub, or press escape on the keyboard.
Okay. So if you could hear voiceover in the background, I turned on voiceover help. And this is a good way that you can actually explore your keyboard. Okay. Also, keep in mind during the time that you're like listening to this video and this lesson, feel free to pause it and restart it when you're ready to go to the next task. The way to get the most out of this video really is pausing it, performing the function, and then restarting the video again, or unpausing it. All right, so I turned on VOK, Control Option K, and now I'm going to press a key.
K.
It actually tells me the letter, or A.
A.
All right, or
Escape. Escape.
I hit escape, and then it says it stopped help. Don't want to finish with help yet, so I'm going to hit VOK.
Starting help. To stop help, perform a 4-finger double tap or 2-finger scrub, or press Control.
Okay. Now I'm going to explore my Control key,
Control,
Option key,
Option,
and Command key, and then my function key.
FN.
It says FN, but it's your function key, okay? And that allows you to explore your keyboard and find out what all the letters are, okay? So try to do that. That'll be really, really helpful in terms of orienting yourself to your keyboard. So I'm going to hit escape and get out of voiceover help.
Escape, escape, stopping help.
Okay, now let's get started with navigating the home screen. So if you have quick nav enabled, again, left and right arrow together, we can navigate our home environment. So I'm going to start by pressing my right arrow key several times. My quick nav was off, so I turned it back on so it wasn't working. Now it's working.
Dock, mail, settings, Safari, phone, page 1 of 4, home, music, wallet, help, TV, podcasts, app store.
And that's taking me through all of my apps that are on my home screen, and all I'm doing is arrowing through. Okay, so it could be a nicer way to navigate. And let's say you're having issues with dexterity or anything like that, this might be a better way to navigate your iDevice. All right, so that's just using the quick nav. If you don't want to use quick nav and you just want to use the voiceover command for it, it's just VO right arrow.
Podcasts, TV, help, wallet.
Does the same thing.
Double tap to open.
What are some other really important commands that we need to know about when navigating our home screen? So we've learned about quick navigation, which is very important, and we'll get into what it does a little bit more and some of its idiosyncrasies. Well, one of the concepts we teach is how do you get home, right? So let's say I enter an app. I'm going to go to my Notes app.
Page 2 of the podcast. App Store. Books. News. Stocks. Notes.
I'm gonna
Double
open
tap
up
to open.
notes
Here's
now.
3D touch to fit. Note. Text field. Is editing. New line.
Okay.
How important has technology been to the...
So how could I get back home? So normally if I'm using my iPhone and it has a home button, I'd press the home button. Or if I have a newer iPhone, I'd have to swipe up from the bottom of the screen, unless I customize a specific command. Well, there's a better way to do that. With your Bluetooth keyboard, you could just press VO. You could press VOH and it will get you back home. So let's try that.
Notes.
Okay.
Double tap to open.
You can also press Command and H, but I find that VOH works best. So that took me back home. But if I wanted to open up my app switcher, I can press VOHH.
Switcher.
And now I can use my arrow keys
Zoom. Active.
to navigate all of my open windows.
To close mail. Active. Settings. Active. Safari. Active.
Okay.
Swipe up with 3 fingers to close the app. Swipe up or
and I'll hit Control to silence the speech right now. But that's how I could navigate to my app switcher. And then when I'm in my app switcher, I can press my left arrow or right arrow, and it would allow me to navigate the app switcher. So if I want to exit out of that, you could just hit VO, Control Option H, or you could hit your escape key, which actually functions as your scrub key. So you can do a 2-finger scrub horizontally left to right, and that takes you back typically. Your escape key functions in that same way. So that's how we would do some of that navigation on our home screen. All right, let's continue doing some navigation on the home screen. So now we know how to do app switcher and we know how to go home. All of that is VOH or VOHH, or it could simply be Command H, whichever one you want to use. And Command H may not work for all keyboards, but VOH will work. Okay. So how do we get to our status bar? So we know that our status bar is at the very top region of our smart devices. But if you wanted to get there through using your keyboard, you could press VOM.
Screen recording in progress button.
That took me to that region, and then it says status bar, then it says status bar item. And if I want to explore what's going on, I just right arrow.
12:48. Status bar item.
It's telling me the time.
Cellular. 2 of 4 bars. Signal strength. Status bar item.
Okay.
Fairly 7. 3 of 3 Wi-Fi bars. Status bar item. 82% battery power. Notch up. 82% battery power. Status bar item.
Okay, so I can now, if I want to exit out of that menu, I can
Notes.
Simply just press the escape key, or I could just simply press the escape key, and that took me out of that item, or I can hit VOH as well. So that's how we would get to the status menu. All right, how can we explore our control center? With Magic Keyboard, the way that we would explore our control center is by pressing Function, Command, Option, and down arrow. Opens up our control center, and we can explore all the options on our control center, and all of the buttons are actionable. All right, that means that if you go to them and then you try to perform a function, it will work. Okay, I can exit out of control center by simply pressing my escape key, so feel free to try that exercise. Okay, now I want to know how to access my notifications. So it's Function, Control, Option, all 3 keys, and then down arrow.
Airplane mode, switch button. Off.
Okay, sorry, I said down arrow. It's function, control, option, up arrow.
iPhone. Zoom.
And
Not
that
from Zoom.
takes me to my notification center. And I
Playback
can
destination.
explore it by going
Previous
right.
track. Pause. Next track. Volume. Zoom. Outlook. Flashlight. Camera. Camera. Button. Flashlight. Off. Outlook. 26 minutes ago. Jeremiah's Felice. Messages.
Okay.
Double tap to open.
So that's how I would explore my notification center and my status bar area and my control center using your keyboard commands. So those are our keyboard commands for navigation. And escape, obviously, you can see how helpful that is. And that's going to be it for session 1. And the homework is going to be go into notes and try to type in a note using your Bluetooth keyboard. And we will follow up with notes for our next session. Have a wonderful night. Take care.